many times have you looked at your credit card statement and thought, how did my balance get so high? And then you go line by line and you are subscribed to these monthly payments that just keep coming out every single month that you just forgot about. Well, as a business owner, what if instead of you paying for subscriptions, people paid you for subscriptions? That we're going to talk about today is how to increase your customer value through a subscription-based model.
Hey, welcome back to Blunt Force Business. I'm Brian LaFauci.
And I'm Patrick Marino.
And today we're digging into subscriptions.
Yay! Subscriptions.
All of our listeners can relate to this because think about all the apps that are out there that are like, hey, sign up for this app and we'll actually tell you what you're subscribing to, dummy.
When you have multiple credit cards, like most of us do in America, which you probably shouldn't, like, especially you have like business and like a couple of personal ones, it's very hard to keep track.
Yeah.
I'm always finding new subscriptions that I'm subscribed to.
You got to make a conscious effort. So today we're going to turn the tables and we're going to put the focus on you looking at, is there any way you can create a subscription model for your products or services?
Can you do it in a way where you're not just getting free money, you're actually providing something of value? Maybe.
We hope. We hope. All right. So let's jump into our Blunt Force Facts for today. Blunt Force Facts number 1 is... people normally say cash is king, but our Blunt Force fact is predictable cash is king.
Yeah, so one of the hardest things to do, especially when you're trying to scale, is to have an idea of what money you've got coming in. And especially if you're selling like one product at a time. What a subscription does is it's just every month, I'm going to make this amount of money. And when you have that predictability, then you can make better long-term decisions about your company and also long-term decisions about scaling.
Awesome. Blunt Force fact number 2 for today is, and all my guineas out there are going to love this one, you're going to go from forecasting to forget about it with subscriptions. That's it. You got nothing to piggyback on that. Huh?
I think my feedback is the same. Again, we're talking about it's predictable, right? So your forecasting is easier, right? I mean, that's basically the idea.
Much easier.
It's like I know what's coming in.
Yes.
Because people pay me the same amount every month.
Yep. And forecasting is one of the key things that businesses rely on to kind of look at future, right? And this kind of gives us a much more clear picture. All right. Blunt Force fact number 3, our subscriptions support scalability. Say that 10 times fast.
I feel like I explained all 3 Blunt Force facts with my first explanation.
You might have. I mean, we're doing a lot on scalability this month on our calls as well as here on our podcast. And I think subscriptions are going to be a great way for us to look at an option for, hey, does it give me the base to scale from? You did so good on the first one.
It's really hard to, when you're selling one product or service at a time. Then you're constantly in sales mode, right? And so it's like, then you're like, all right, it's especially in early stage or startup, right? It's hard to predict. But like when you get to the point where people are just, and a subscription could be, you could substitute the word retainer, right? It's like if you can get people, if you're in a service-based, lawyers are the obvious ones with retainers, but marketing services, you get to the point, consulting services, where you've got a retainer relationship. Now you're just getting money every month, and now you know how much you're going to have, and that the only way to scale sustainably or successfully or like in a safe way would be to have that idea of what you've actually got coming in on a regular basis, and that makes your decision making more data based and safe.
And it also makes you more scalable because it makes you more bank fundable. Yeah. Banks look at past history and performance with one lens and future guaranteed contracts with a much different lens. Like, oh, you mean we can leverage that those accounts receivable? Because now, from an accounting standpoint, you can now mark those as accounts receivable, right? And they look much different from a lending standpoint. As we delve into this conversation today, what I want to kind of start off with is the fact that the one thing that got me to realize that you can do subscriptions for just about anything was when I was signing up for subscriptions for clothes. And I was like, I never in a million years would have guessed that there would be a time where instead of going to shop for clothes, I would pay a certain amount, and every 2 months, a box would show up with clothes to my house, and I would try them on and keep them.
Do you do that?
I do that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. But that's what made me realize, like, okay, we've gotten to the point where subscription for everything. Now, I mean, without going too much down the road for me personally, like, I'm like you. I have subscriptions for food, for like certain food products, supplements, clothes, hygiene stuff, shit just like that.
Well, I'm not exactly like that.
You're not like that.
No.
Okay.
But I have subscriptions.
My razors come every 2 months.
I would say most of my subscriptions are based on either entertainment, like media, like especially these like channels you subscribe to, whatever it is, or business related software.
Yeah.
Where it's like I'll sign up for the service and I'll be like, I just unsubscribed from a subscription where I was signed up for a software service and I never used it.
Right.
But I paid for 8 months of it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Because I was like, I'm going to use this. This makes sense. I'm going to sign up for the subscription because it's a little bit cheaper. Mm-hmm. Or I get the free trial for a month.
Right.
And then I just never had time to really get to know the product.
Right.
And use it. And now I'm like 7 months down the line. I'm looking at my line items on my credit card. And I'm like, what the hell is this? It's like, I paid that same amount for 6 months in a row.
Yeah.
So for me, it's more of that. I don't really do a lot of the other subscriptions, but like obviously, like I think what it does is, so like I'm looking at it from like you obviously are pretty happy with your subscriptions for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I'm looking at it from the negative side, but like if you look at it like from like say a supplement, right?
But I also do have the same thing you have. I recently realized that for a number of months I was subscribed to 2 TV streaming services. I purchased something, it gave me the service for free.
Yeah, and then
I forgot to switch it, so I had it for free and was paying for it.
Yeah.
So I canceled the one I was paying for, and but
there's also like
months.
it's like the not deceptive, but like kind of like the subscription where you get free money and you forget about it, right? So like from a business, we want that. Mm-hmm. Like the supplements is a good example because it's like if you're selling wellness. Mm-hmm. We both have experience with this now. If you're selling wellness and you say, okay, like here's like your 30-day supply, right? You take one of these every day for 30 days, right?
Yeah.
It's like, then like it makes sense from like a long-term basis that you're going to want to take this again next month, right? So the subscription makes total sense from a value perspective.
Yep.
Like instead of making you buy this again, like subscribe. You need this every day.
Right.
So why not subscribe? You're going to save a little bit, and you're going to keep your wellness going, whatever particular aspect of wellness you're going for. So that makes sense in terms of like we're not just milking people, we're providing value with that subscription.
And I think for our listeners, the key takeaway for our listeners is, all right, I'm going to do this. Now, how do I do it? I think to walk through some of the key components that our listeners need to think about is first, it's like the evaluation of which of my products or services do I think fit really well in a subscription model, or would my customers be willing to, or are there ways I could force them into a subscription model? And you hate to use that word, but a quick example, an IT company that I love, that I use, I had a problem with one of my computers, and he does other work for me, but I don't have them doing like a managed IT platform for my consultant company right now. And he's fixed computers for me before. And when my recent MacBook, it had an issue with the fan, and he's like, sorry. It's like, we only do repairs for IT subscription-based models, and right now your company isn't on that. If you're interested in being, and do I want to be on it? I don't know. But now am I considering it? Because I'm like, this may come up again, and I don't want to like go to like box store A, and I don't want to do that. I like having, when I had him doing that stuff, I felt I trusted. And so am I going to jump? Probably. I'll probably find a package plan that works and that gives me what I need. And, But they're like, that's a little more of the forced thing where you can say, okay, we take these other things that we do and we put them into there, and we say the only way you get them is by being part of the subscription if you're not. So first things for our listeners is identifying just listing them out, right? Get a piece of paper and say, okay, here's what I think potentially has the capacity to be a subscription-based service. And then the second one is this has to be a very strong conscious effort in a sales model. Like, now how do you get people into it? And when I think about it, how many orders did it take before I clicked on, let's go with the supplement one. How many times did I order the supplement before I was like, all right, I am ordering this every X weeks? I'm subscribing. I'll save the $5. I had to prove to myself. So what you have to do as a business owner is realize you're not going to grab them the first time. It's like
But you have to prepare for it, though.
Yeah, and you got to feed it to them, constantly feed it to them, constantly feed it to them, and then be willing. And then every couple of months, maybe we're like, hey, I noticed you ordered this 3 times. You know, you could have you could have spent this if you just ran a subscription model and had the same thing. Like, it has to be very conscious. If you're gonna just say, yeah, I'm gonna do a subscription model, and I'm gonna put it on my website, and yeah, like this is a sales model. The subscription model, and it's an active sales model that we have to engage in.
And you have to be profitable with it too. So you have to price it so that, like, if you're doing it this way, right, where it's like, okay, the supplement is a good example where it's like, here's what it costs if you buy it once, and then here's what it costs if you buy it every month. That has to all be profit, right? And a service is a little bit more complicated where you have to figure out when you're pricing it, like, okay, well, how much does the repair cost for the MacBook? Right, and then it's like, okay.
Oh no, they still charge you for the repair. By the way, they just won't do it.
Okay, but it's factored in somehow.
Somehow,
right?
I'm sure.
So it's like I'm sure, like if you paid for a repair, one-time repair from a company, that repair would probably cost more
than what I'm going to
get charged from this person, because they're charging you the upsell of the subscription, right? So that profit, they got a profit, and that profit accumulates over time when you don't use the service,
right?
So like you've got to figure out, and this is like, I mean, like a really good example of this is the insurance industry, right? Because you're paying for insurance, and what they're banking on is that you're never going to need it. Right? They're banking on they're not going to have to pay out as much as you've paid them over time. So like if you're paying say car insurance and you're paying $200 a month for car insurance, which most people don't do. I had a bad history when I was younger. So I paid $200 a month for car insurance. But then if I have one $8,000 repair,
right? How
many months of insurance have I paid that's covered that? You know what I mean? And then most people don't get into a lot of accidents. So they're just getting $200 a month from everybody.
Right.
They got little grandma who's been paying them $100 a month forever. Her car barely leaves the driveway, right? So they're just getting that money. I mean, that's why these companies just grow.
Oh my God,
grow, right? So like that's what you've got to think about when you develop your own subscription is like, okay, what's the price need to be so that I can cover the costs, right? When I need to deliver them, right? So if I do a lot of service stuff, so it's like, okay, like a lot of people are just paying me every month, and like some months I'm not doing much. Right. And then some months I'm doing more.
Yeah.
Right. So I've got to figure out that math so that I'm not killing myself. For that amount. Like it has to make me more money with the subscription model than it would have made me otherwise.
Right.
Now that's not necessarily true.
Well, but because
the predictability of the subscription might make up for the fact that I'm either making the same amount of money or a little bit less. Because having that predictability again, it allows me to scale and make plans. But the pricing is important.
But the way we manage that well with our clients, and when you think about the Grow Hard program we do, which is all about scaling and growth, what is step 2 of Grow Hard?
Right, it's raise your prices.
Raise your prices by 10%. Because now you've already, you know, like, all right, I'm going to discount down the road, and I'm going to try to get a bunch of people into this discounted plan.
Right.
But I'm going to start with the price raise up here. So that way, when I get to that over there, I'm actually making what I was on it.
Right.
So really, you're overpaying for it if you pay for it not through the subscription plan, you know?
Yeah.
Which is what I was doing probably forever with that company, was paying more than I would have.
Or what you were doing from a marketing perspective, as somebody who has worked in that industry, is you were maybe having months where you went weeks without the supplement.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because what happens is like
now I have times where I have too much. Sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. What happens with a supplement is you use it for a bit, and then like this happens to a lot of people is they see success, but life happens, right?
Yeah.
They forget about it. Like, oh, now I'm like not getting the benefit anymore because I'm not taking it anymore. Why'd you stop taking it? Because I forgot to buy it.
Right.
Yeah, I ran out and I forgot to buy it.
Yep.
You know, and it's like, okay, well, now there's a subscription. It's like, here, now you just got it when you need it. You know, and like you said, if you go like a week or two without taking it, you got a 30-day supply.
Yep.
Or if you don't, not even a week or two, you go a week where you only take it 3 days a week instead of 7. Yep. You know, now you've got too much. But like there is a value benefit, and that's, I think that in terms of how you market your subscription, you're marketing it based on the value, not the. I mean, savings is part of the value, but also like what happens if you don't use this product or service for a little bit of time.
Right.
You know, like your health benefits from this, you're not, just stay healthy. You have to keep using this in order to get the benefit out of it. So we're just going to make sure you always have it. That's a value perspective of the marketing. You know?
Yeah.
So it's not just cost saving.
No, not at all. I mean,
or it's like for the IT person, it's like, okay, like we just had the example, like where I just had a car fixed when my guy was out of town, right? So it's like, what's the problem if I have the subscription, if I have the retainer, when something goes wrong, I got a call, right? I worked in the substance abuse treatment. We had a PR agency. We paid them every month. Most of the time, we never used them.
Yep.
But if something went wrong, somebody dies, right? Because that's what happens. Not from like substance abuse treatment centers, people die. You know, like it's one of the reasons. It's one of the problems with the epidemic. But the idea is you've got this retainer, you've got this person who's ready to go.
Yep.
So instead of there being an emergency, like now what do we do? Who do we get in touch with? We already have it. They're in place. Your computer goes down at a bad time for you. The guy's ready to go because you've got him on retainer. You got the contract with him. So the subscription provides a value. Yeah. It's not just a cost savings.
Right.
It's like having the peace of mind.
Yeah.
And then from a marketing perspective, I think that's a good tactic.
Yeah.
You know.
Good tactic is, as the business owner to make sure that, it gives you something that you can tout. Right? Creating things like this, we're always trying to find ways to get people to pay attention to what we're doing. And one of the auxiliary benefits, like you're saying, of a subscription model beyond the cash flow, which is a huge benefit, and predictability is, okay, now we have this thing that we can promote because it's, unique and a savings option, and we can use it as like a little promotional
piece.
And
for a lot of these clothing companies, because these things didn't exist before, like now it's like this, like, as you said, it's an added thing,
right?
That other companies don't have.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, you can subscribe to this and get something new every 2 months. Yeah. It's like other companies don't have that.
Yeah,
we have this. It's this option that makes us a little bit more attractive. And what it really does, from a business perspective, is it locks the customer into a longer term relationship.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because like it's a real benefit for the business owner because now it's like they just think of you as part of the team. Especially if you're doing it like me, where it's services. I'm just part of that company's team. They just know to call me, right? I'm just part of the team, right? Because it's a monthly relationship. It's not just a project. It's not like, hey, we're doing this campaign or we're doing this website. It is like part of the team.
Yep.
It's like, who do you call for this? And it's like, and it makes you more valuable. It increases your value as well to the person that you're working with. It's like, how do you get more healthy? Like, it's okay. Well, I'm part of this community. You always talk about your supplement company.
I do.
As being somebody like you value.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's like part of that is this long-term relationship, and the subscription just fits into that longer-term relationship, increases the value of the customer and keeps you interested longer term. And that's a big challenge for a company is how do you keep these long-term relationships, and then how do you keep long-term customer value growing? And subscription is the easiest way to do that.
And for our listeners who are in this stage where they're more than likely looking at ways to scale and grow, the auxiliary benefits here that we started to talk about are phenomenal. So by creating some kind of subscription-based financial model, you now open the door for significantly more financing opportunities, I feel. And well, as we're looking to scale, what is the thing we're naturally maybe going to need? Well, we're going to need cash in the bank, which this is going to help greatly with cash flow, consistent cash flow. And we're going to need the ability to access capital. And subscription models really are a multiplier in your ability to access capital. They are looked at throughout the lending world as superior to, yeah, I got a client and this is about what they order every year, right? As opposed to, well, you know, one of the things that we would constantly get asked when we owned the sport complex to submit every year, along with not just our returns. You'd think, oh yeah, submit me your financials, your returns. They would ask for one other thing, and that was, send me the contracts you got for next year. Because they knew we were on a subscription-based model, and they knew that's how they could really hold our, I don't want to say hold us accountable, but really evaluate, like, what are you really
they have to make sure that you're
for?
going to pay them back. If they're giving you financing, they're going to make sure you're paying you back. And if they know you're making money for sure, then it gives them more peace of mind. That. But
it just goes to show the value they put in those.
Right, yep.
You know, the value they put in that one thing. They didn't ask for anything else outside of the ordinary except for that one thing. So now just flip that around in a lending environment. Though I always, when I'm working with clients, I always say this, and especially if they're going to sell their company when we're doing business brokerage, same thing. I'll always say, how many of your clients are currently in a subscription model or like contract based? And then whenever they say blah, 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 I say, well, how many can you get in that model? Because if you can get them in that model, one, if we're going to go for money, it's going to be easier. We'll get more money. Two, if you're going to sell, we're going to get more money. We're going to get more money for this company, the more people you can put in that subscription model. And so the long-term benefits here extend way beyond just making cash flow easier. They extend to growth-related decisions. They extend to selling your company and what you value at. I mean, it's this one decision can have massive impact.
And you think you have to be creative. So as we wrap up here, I think that the idea is it can be surprising what you can turn into a subscription model. So like, for example, like probably a few years ago, 10 years ago, not many companies would have considered clothing as a subscription, right? Not many people would, like, there's a lot of these concierge medical facilities, right? Where it's like you pay a regular fee to be a part of these concierge medical practices, and it gets you better access to your doctors instead of just going in the way that it would have been before. I mean, like there's surprising ways that you can turn a service or a product into a subscription, or you could do something like we've talked about all the time, like a warranty, like a maintenance, like something like that becomes the subscription on top of the product that they bought. You know, but it gives you that, for all the different reasons we talked about, that recurring income, increases your lifetime value of the customer, increases your relationship length with the customer, and makes you more attractive when you are looking for lending for banks, and increases your ability to scale because you've got this more predictable business model that's not as reliant, and it helps you with downturns in the economy.
Oh, absolutely.
So if I've got a subscription that people can't get out of, and then say a worldwide pandemic, right? So that happened to my business, right? So it's like the companies that could get out of contracts got out of contracts. The companies that did not. They did not, right? So I had the subscription. So it's like downturn in the economy, people stick with the subscription. They get rid of the stuff that they can't get out. You know, so it's like they get rid of the things that they're going to just buy. You know, and it's like in the subscription, it's like, all right, well, they either forgot about it or they're just kind of in it. They're just kind of getting it and they're used to it. And and I'll wrap up. Sorry, I talked a lot here, but like, there is a type of person, you being that type of person. We've talked about these before, especially it seems like successful people in general who just would rather have a predictable, here's what I pay out of my pocket every month versus like
fixed cash flow, baby.
Versus having a, I have to buy this, I have to buy that. I would rather just know what's coming out of my pocket. And it doesn't matter. A lot of times, like for me, in my experience, the people who are like that are predominantly successful. They're just like, I'd rather pay monthly than pay out of pocket one time.
Yeah, fixed cash flow models are easier to manage.
So if you can get your customers into that, you might even attract a higher level of clientele.
Absolutely. 3 blunt force facts on sustainability and subscription-based models. Blunt force fact number 1, Predictable cash is king, not just cash is king. Blunt force fact number 2 is go from forecast to forget about it with your prescriptions, and then blunt
subscriptions.
I said I've done that 3 times today.
With your prescriptions as well, but with your subscriptions.
With your subscriptions. And blunt force fact number 3, prescriptions, just kidding. Subscriptions support scalability. I'm Brian LaFauci.
Patrick Marino.
Till next time.
Thank you.